Welcome, y'all, to YouTube time and coffee time with Madison Christine on a gray, little bit of rainy day in Santa Fe. High desert, you guys. I'm always a lover of that. So I am really inspired to get more intimate and personal with you guys on these YouTubes around trauma, around sexual trauma, and to share bits of my story in order to connect more deeply. Because I really believe and know from experience and watching others I've worked with and just in life that when we share our truest, deepest vulnerabilities, that's often what liberates others in theirs. So I'm going deeper with you guys. And this is going to be a lot about trauma, sexual trauma, which is power abuse, some religious abuse. And I know I've given bits and pieces, but I want to do a more coherent sharing just on that and knowing that my life has been changed by people that have done that. So I'm actually getting myself out of the way to share my story. You guys, this isn't for any intent of being like, oh, poor Madison. No. This is the opposite of how I got through this and how I have prevailed and become more of who I am as a result, and have deeper love in this world. So it's just to connect to those of you that are listening and need a validation, a handhold, a sense of hope, an empowerment into your true deep self. These are big things, you guys. So I'm just gonna start and just do these in bits and pieces, like I said. So of course I'm Madison, and I was born into a family. I have an identical twin, which is a trip, right? We're not exactly alike, of course. We're our own souls, our own individual, unique signatures of who we are. And if anyone sees or has just seen me and then they see my sister, it's a trip, right? Because there's similar tones in our voices, that we present differently. We're very, very connected. Also have a younger sister, 3 years younger, and then a brother, 6 years younger. And I grew up in a family system where my father's been a pastor, still is, pastor of a Presbyterian church. And mother is that very extremely talented musician, teacher. She just never stops. She just goes, and has been very respected for her talents and her very boisterous personality. And these things sound all great, right? The outer picture sounds like, wow, pastor, teacher, talented. My father's a musician as well, really amazing musicians in my family line. And then behind closed doors, ... shark music, boom, boom, boom. You know, it's painful. It's exquisitely painful. Now, remember, any of you come from abuse. It's never, well, for some people it is. It wasn't all bad, right? There's all the good things, the yummy food, the family, the friends, different experiences when you're in the church, which we practically lived in the church. You know, there was positive things that kept me going from that. Behind closed doors, there is sexual abuse. There is a mom not protecting the child. The denial. There was, for me, I was labeled as the scapegoat, meaning I was the problem child. Why is that? I would acknowledge the truth and get slapped back. I was in a family with a parental system that they were just not willing to look at themselves. And I would be basically screaming and crying pretty much every night, no joke. My mom would be yelling things like, I hate you, and wish you never were here, and all this stuff. And I was the one that would confront day in and day night. Well, there's so much hypocrisy here. You're out there, you guys are preaching love, but then in the home you're treating me like this. And it's just a very, very, very painful, exquisitely painful experience behind the scenes. But as you all know, when you grow up in a system like that, and there's this power thing that goes on when your father's a pastor, and there's this illusion that we were all angels. Like, I was just so sweet. And like, for reals, like, I really came into this world having a deep heart for people and a deep heart for the truth. So being born into the family system of religion, I wanted to know, who is this Jesus character? What is love was really my question. And how can love be lived out? And integrity was just something I looked for since I was young. I remember being 2 and screaming in my high chair for my mom's love. And it was just there was not a connection on that deeper level. I came in as a really deep empath, right? So for me, I'm this little munchkin, like feeling and absorbing. I came in with the gift of seeing through things. Came in with this very tender heart and also very fierce need for truth. So I was born into a family system that really contrasted that. So I felt quite miserable as a kid because I could see through, like I was a kid who could see through affairs with adults. I could feel when someone was being honest or not. And I could feel who I could trust or not. But I kept being battered down like I was the problem. Still to this day, I'm not always popular for the truth because a lot of people don't want to face the truth. But those that do, lifetimers, right? We're lifetime friends. We're in. Because I just don't put up with bullshit. I am extremely not superficial, right? So that's who I am, and that's how I maintain that in my family system. However, what happened was all this is going on, right? And meanwhile, out in the world is where I would do anything to have peace. So I tried to be the perfect child out in school. I got so many nice things from teachers. My mom would always be like, why do they all love you out there? Because to my mom at the time, I was the problem because I was trying to speak the truth and it was not popular in my home. Even though it was being preached. It's very interesting in love. So I would just hide in my bedroom with my Bible and my journal and cry and pray and write. And so that was going on, right? And so then we fast forward to what was starting to happen when I hit about age 15, 16, I became a really avid runner and competitor in cross country and track. Saved my life then. Saved my life. I know that I was subconsciously just putting my rage to the concrete. However, at that time, I could never admit anger unless it was in my journal because I felt guilty for it. Because in religion, there's so much twisted messaging around having those feelings. And honestly, those are feelings because I deeply loved and I wanted things to work in my family desperately. So in the school system and everything, I tried to be as perfect as I could. I didn't ever want to talk out of turn. I needed peace somewhere. I always heard from people, why are you so happy all the time? And I didn't even know what the hell I felt. But that was my that was my survival mechanism from the trauma. So any of you listening who have this dynamic, oh my God, be so gentle on yourself. It took me years and years to truly get into my deep, deep feeling, my voice, my boundaries. It happens as you go. When you find the right person, I had to go through a few to really feel seen and heard. Because a lot of those of you that come from abuse, there's been so much mind fucking, but mind fuck is confusing. It's like you get pushed down so hard that you start believing the lies. You start believing that you practically don't have a reason to exist. Then you get these mixed messages, whether you're in the church, that you are so important, but it's just so confusing. It becomes so confusing. And for me, it manifested through anorexia or exercise bulimia, I will call it. And so for me, the metaphor is that I just started, it was so painful. It's like I just decided subconsciously to go invisible. The message was, you don't matter, you're a problem, your truth is just bullshit. The thunder just happened. So I subconsciously just started running myself to death. And I also, it's mixed, right? Because I also remember running the best race of my life, the mile, and my time. I was like, whoa, I wanted to just become the best runner, right, in the world. Not for anybody else, but for myself. I found something I was good at. I was so starving for self-worth and self-value. And I got so much attention with that. And I also was disintegrating and leaving. I went into spirit world really, kind of left my body. So it was, there's just so much involved in this sharing. But yes, at the time I didn't know what I felt. It's like I was just numb and I was addicted to running. And I didn't eat enough. It was a disaster that way. And I just remember having a moment, it was spiritual for me, where I was like, oh my God, I need to freaking get help. I'm not okay. I was getting thinner and thinner. People around me were noticing. Even my mom had a dream. And hence a whole new life started happening for me as I got help and really spoke with a therapist that saw me about what really happened. I had listened to a woman speak at the college I was in. I think I was about 18. And she spoke on having been sexually abused by a pastor. And in that moment, everything let go in my body. And I was like, oh my God, I gotta tell my therapist. I've been in therapy for like a year, you guys. I was just trying to come back, right? And when I heard that, I was like, I remember I had repressed it so deep. And when I heard that woman share story, I was like, oh my God, I had told myself as a kid, I can't say anything until I'm in my mid-40s. That felt like the safe zone for me. And, but this was me hearing this at 18, and I had left the home, which was the best thing I could have done to get perspective for myself, and went to Whitworth, which is now university. Awesome school back then. And that woman telling her story, which she'll never know, I never got to tell her, which is why I'm here to do that, was really the first moment where I felt like, well, if she can do it, I can do it too, and it's not going to kill me. In fact, it was killing me not to talk about it. So I'm going to leave that in this time. I'll continue it with other YouTubes. I hope that this is helping someone who may be feeling really scared, really lost, whatever you're feeling, repressed, and you're like, holy crap. I'm sharing this to help those of you liberate yourselves, to not feel alone, to tell you that we can, you guys. You can feel like the impossible, especially coming from sexual trauma. There is so much violation that goes on. I call it soul murder. Many women who haven't faced it when they hit my middle age have psychic breaks, somatic issues, cancers. It is that deep. It is a murderous act. Be careful with any kind of minimization. It doesn't matter if it happened once or happened as like an incest, like in my world. Often, whatever it was, validate the absolute crap and gold out of yourself, okay? And you can heal. Has it taken me years? Oh my God, this is 25 years later as I tell my story. But that's not to make it less hopeful. It's to say that I've saved my life, and I've had, especially a particular therapist that just saw into me. I've said this before, and into my soul. And that's all it took. Like I call it my CPR for the soul. So may I offer that to you. I see you, any of you that feel the crazy making of whatever system, whether it's a relationship or a family, the power abuse, the religious abuse, the sexual trauma, the emotional abuse. Trust me, you can. Well, trust yourself. You can heal from this, but it's going to take a major freaking choice to choose you and to know that there is so much pain that will come along with it, but that pain is creating you into someone you never thought you could be and getting you closer to love. And it does release. I cannot lie. There's times though, like this weekend I won't go into that, but it was a very hard weekend for me, connected to a family system. But what's different is that now I know what's going on. My body is for me to navigate, nobody else. And I know now I have choice, and my truth matters. And I'm using that voice to help you, to help others empower themselves. So I'm going to leave it at that now. Thank you so much for listening. It's MadisonChristine.net. And you'll just hit contact if you want to have one-on-ones with me, or you just want to connect, there's an email there. And I just thank you so much for listening, and I'll meet you all on the flip.